Happy Hump Day. This past Sunday, here at Jennings Creek Christian Reformed Church, we had the opportunity to resume our worship services at 30% capacity. Since that time, I've been asked by several people, how did it go? What was it like? And I've taken some time to sort of contemplate and think about what was that experience like? And as I reflected on this past Sunday's service, I couldn't help but think of the exiles in Babylon, the Israelites that returned to Jerusalem, as recorded in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. See, not all of them returned to Jerusalem at the same time, but rather a portion of them returned. See, King Cyrus and King Artaxerxes, he gave permission to Ezra and to Nehemiah, to Ezra to rebuild the temple, to Nehemiah to rebuild the wall. And this group of Israelites was able to return to Jerusalem, the land in which they were exiled from. Now, our exile was not 50 to 60 years, it was 3 months. But you can sort of see a bit of comparison there. But there is this story that occurs in Ezra. See, the builders have just laid the foundation of the temple. And the people see the foundation and they begin praising God. They're just so excited to see that the temple is being restored. But then also depicted in Ezra, there's this crowd. And they're grieving and they're weeping and they're full of sorrow as they see the foundations being built. See, these people, they knew the former temple. They were alive. They saw with their own eyes the former glory of that former temple. And they're grieving because this new temple pales in comparison to the temple that was there previously. And in some ways, that's kind of how I felt on Sunday. Yes, we were able to resume our worship service, but it wasn't quite the same as what we were familiar with. Yes, we were able to gather again physically, but we weren't all able to gather. Yes, we were able to gather, but there were these restrictions, and they felt a little stiff, and it didn't quite feel the same. Yes, we did sing, but the singing wasn't as robust as a full sanctuary. There was just so many changes, and those changes impacted our worship. But as I continued to reflect, that there was this spark of hope. And the spark of hope is that despite all the changes, despite all the restrictions, despite the fact that we weren't all able to worship, there was one thing that did not change as we gathered for worship, and that was our God. In Malachi 3 verse 6, we're reminded, I, the Lord, do not change. Or Hebrews 13 verse 8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. See, and there's comfort in knowing that in spite of all the changes we face, the God that we worship does not change. And that God is faithful to us. His love for us never changes. In Lamentations 3:22 to 23, we hear these comforting words. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So friends, though our worship gatherings are not quite the same, though there are guidelines that we need to follow that might feel a little stiff or odd, though our worship may not be filled with the same robustness as when we worship at full capacity, know this: God does not change. The God we worship does not change. And that God's love towards us has not changed, and His promises towards us have not changed. His mercies towards us are indeed new every morning. Great is your faithfulness, God. In Jesus Christ, we have hope every day. I trust you enjoy this hope for Hump Day. Blessings.